their fallen brothers there. This happened actually Wednesday afternoon while officers were serving a domestic-related warrant at a property in York County, Pennsylvania. So what we know is that 5 officers were shot. Again, 3 were killed. 2 of them hurt. They are expected to be all right. They are expected to recover. That shooter was also killed. His name was Matthew James Ruth. He was 24. Again, he was the one accused of opening fire on police, killing 3, hurting 2, and right now they are being escorted. I believe probably, actually I don't know where they're being escorted to, but this is that procession for those officers that were shot and killed. I also want to take us out to D.C. Where the We Are America March is actually concluding. So what this was a march that started back on September 6th in Philadelphia at Independence Hall. And a group of people have now walked 160 miles to the steps of Congress. They brought with them a copy of the U.S. Constitution. So they had, some people joined them for a day, for a mile, for a step, and some people came all the way to Washington. And we are just going to listen in for a little bit here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and then I'll take you through some more of your national headlines.
The House, even the courts, will come to our side and understand that he must go. He cannot be allowed to destroy American democracy. Impeach. 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 When? Impeach. When? Now. When I say impeach, you say now. Impeach? Now. Impeach? Now. Impeach? Now. Who? Trump. Who? Trump. When? Now. Impeach? Now. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters. Go in peace. Go in peace. And do not allow anyone to create a violent episode that will cause the news media to focus on that one incident to the exclusion of all the good that has been done here. Don't let it happen. If someone does that, then point to that person and say, not with us. Not with us. Let's practice. Not with us. Not with us. Not with us. That's right. We are peaceful. We are a peace-seeking people. We want to make sure that all that we have stood for continues to stand. And the only way to do that is with peace. And peaceful protest is our methodology. We appreciate what the Constitution affords us, and we're going to use it to the best of our abilities to make sure that on January of 2027, the president that is in office now does not have the opportunity to declare martial law, bring out the National Guard, and try to hold over an office. Because hopefully, with your help, and the help of the Senate, the House, we will have impeached him, and he will be out of office before then. And those who say, well, wait a minute, they say, wait a minute, well, what about the person that would succeed him? Impeach him too. Yes, impeachment is for people who have breached the constitutional mandates, and they both have. But we'll start with the one at the top, and then we'll work our way to the rest. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.
If you are just joining us, we were just listening in right there to the We Are America rally in D.C. Again, this actually started on September 6th in Philadelphia. They marched to the steps of Congress, and you heard their calls to impeach President Trump, a lot of vocalizing of dissatisfaction for the White House, for the current administration, and for some of the decisions that they have made. Speaking of D.C., I want to take us to this live shot here of the White House. We do actually have several developments today as far as the Trump administration goes. I want to start with the lawsuit that was just tossed out about 30 minutes ago. We learned that a federal judge has thrown out Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times. We saw him, I believe, file this a little bit earlier this week, and now, a federal judge in Florida is tossing it out. The lawsuit had named a book and an article that was written by 2 Times reporters that really focus on Trump's finances and his presidency. as well as kind of his role in, television's The Apprentice, if you ever watched that show that starred Trump and several of his kids later on. So Trump had said in a lawsuit that they maliciously peddled the fact-free narrative that television producer Mark Burnett turned Trump into a celebrity. And then he went on to say, and I quote, "Even though at and prior to the time of publications, defendants knew that President Trump was already a mega celebrity and an enormous success in business." So again, Trump had sued the New York Times for $15 billion in this defamation lawsuit that a federal judge has gone ahead and tossed out as of 30 minutes ago. Any updates that come through that, we will absolutely pass along to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Another big story today, the future of TikTok. This has been an ongoing story for years now. I mean, it started back in Trump's first presidency. It continued to linger through all of Biden's presidency, and now it is back and in the headlines during Trump's second term in office, all about how TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company, needs to sell it to a U.S. company in order for that app to be viable and be allowed here in the United States. So the big update coming out of this today is that President Trump had a phone call with China's president, and we don't have a ton of details as to what happened in that phone call. We know that President Trump has posted on Truth Social that he appreciates the TikTok approval. So it seems that on President Trump's side, he's saying that, China has agreed to sell it to a U.S. company, but it's really not clear what exactly that approval that Trump is talking to refers to. We don't know if it's regarding the sale of the assets by the Chinese company ByteDance. What we do know is the Chinese government has put out a statement that just said they'd be happy to see productive commercial negotiations in keeping with market rules that lead to a solution that complies with China's laws and regulations and takes into account the interests of both sides. The U.S. side needs to provide an open, fair, and non-discriminatory environment for Chinese investors. So, kind of a big question mark as to what exactly happened in that phone call and if we're going to see a fourth extension of this deadline or if we are going to see the sale of TikTok here in the United States. It kind of seems President Trump is saying it's a done deal. It kind of seems like the Chinese government says, hold up, not yet. So we will kind of try and get some more clarity on this situation because I do know, as silly as it sounds, a lot of people very much care for TikTok. I think it was back in January we saw the deadline kind of end, no sale happened, and TikTok disappeared from the App Store. But even more, everyone who had TikTok on their phones who thought, oh, it's okay, like if I have the app downloaded, I'll still have it. But it didn't work. You would open the app and there was an error message and people were not happy. It only lasted about 24 hours before President Trump signed kind of that extension, that grace period, which allowed TikTok to continue to operate here in the United States. But certainly a developing situation that we're going to continue to follow. Another developing situation, we've been talking about it since the beginning of this month when Congress returned to D.C., and that's the potential for a government shutdown. So it seemed like there had been some progress today. The House had passed its bill to avoid a temporary government shutdown, which would happen in October. But as of about 5 minutes ago, the Senate has rejected the competing bills to avoid that government shutdown. So it kind of goes back now to the beginning. It's a huge setback here. Again, the Senate had rejected the Republican and Democratic stopgap measure that was going to fund the government for a little bit here. So now the risk of that shutdown on October 1st grows because we need to find something the House and the Senate both agree on. Finally, the other kind of big national story here, we saw the White House post this tribute video on X, which we'll get playing here, for Charlie Kirk, whose funeral is slated for Sunday. It's going to be in Glendale, Arizona at the football stadium there. We're still waiting to learn more about the service. We know it's going to be streamed online. It's going to be in Arizona, which in Arizona time, doors are opening at 8. The service is starting at 11 here in Wisconsin. I believe that was 12, maybe 1, that service is going to start. But of course, Charlie Kirk has been in the headlines since last week when he was murdered talking at Utah Valley University. He was doing one of his Prove Me Wrong campus visits, which we have learned a lot about, how he would go to college campuses and kind of put an open mic out and say, ask me a question, try to prove me wrong on my values and my beliefs. And he would give them his answers back. Well, he was doing one of those. And the second question, which happened to actually be about guns, gun violence, and the topic of transgenders. And during that, the single shot was fired that hit him in the neck, that he ultimately did die of the result of that injury a few hours later at a local hospital. Since then, Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old Utah resident, did surrender himself, saying that, he was the one who did this. The last update, we know that he was not necessarily cooperating with law enforcement, but he is in jail. He has been charged now formally this week in the murder of Charlie Kirk. So again, this is the White House putting out about 15 hours ago this tribute video, which heavily includes sound from Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife, who spoke last Friday night to the public addressing the murder of her husband, saying that this was going to be her battle cry, that she was going to continue her husband's mission of Turning Point USA, the company that he had founded. And just yesterday, we learned that she has been named now the next CEO. Charlie was the CEO, and the board kind of says that he made it very clear that if anything were to ever happen to him, that he wanted to see Erica put in that same spot. So she has now been named CEO as well as the chair of the board, and is going to continue that mission of Turning Point USA. Obviously, this has been just a big talker in the headlines, political violence, the divisiveness in the country. So this continues to be something a lot of people are speaking out on. The other kind of big update of as far as Charlie Kirk goes this week was actually in Los Angeles, which is where Jimmy Kimmel would record his nightly talk show. He had made a joke about Charlie Kirk's death regarding how the shooter was from a MAGA family. It's something that the FCC did not like, heavily spoke out against. Then we saw Nexstar, which owns a lot of local ABC affiliates and just news stations across the country, say they were going to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live and no longer air his talk show because of this joke that was made, saying that he needed to issue a formal apology. Nexstar right now is trying to acquire Tegna in a multi-billion-dollar deal. Tegna is another owner of news stations across the country, but they would own so many that it actually requires the FCC to change some rules that would allow them to still buy them. And we also saw Sinclair, which is another company who owns TV stations across the country, say they were going to do the same thing. So ultimately, ABC and Disney suspended Jimmy Kimmel. We don't have the feed any longer, but about an hour ago, we saw people rallying in support of Jimmy Kimmel. This is another one of those decisions that has, some people saying we agree he needed to be pulled. Jokes like this aren't okay. He needs to apologize. And on the other side, we've had people say this is a threat to freedom of speech. This is a threat to freedom of press. So a lot of conversation has really been started off of this suspension. And we're going to have to wait and see ultimately what happens. Again, that suspension indefinitely, so we don't know when ABC will bring back the talk show. Jimmy Kimmel has not publicly spoken out since that suspension. So another just big kind of talker this week, big story developing related ultimately back to the FCC, which would be part of the Trump administration, dealing with Charlie Kirk there as well. So as you can see, just a lot happening really across the country today. We do have a big development in a local story that now has ties to Washington as well. We're going to get to that one, though, after the break. I'm going to stop talking just for a few minutes, and then I'll be back and I'll give you the latest on a really big developing story as well. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's Friday, which I really feel like I kind of glazed over when we started the show. I always think it's just a good feeling when you make it. We're almost done with the work week, the school week. Hopefully you have some good weekend plans. In Milwaukee, it's going to be a little bit of a wet weekend, so just make sure if you're heading out the door that you bring an umbrella with you, especially this evening as well as tomorrow, Sunday, maybe a rain jacket, and just have plans maybe that could be moved indoors if you need them to be. Again, we'll have your forecast coming up about 1 p.m. So our weather expert Stephanie is going to join us, and she'll get you all set up for this weekend. Before the break, we really went over the gambit of national headlines that have happened this Friday, and now I want to hit a very big local headline that has happened today, and that is related to Travis Decker. The sheriff out of Washington is saying there are some remains that were found that they believe could possibly be Travis Decker. They're pretty confident that is the body of Travis Decker, which if you don't know, this is a triple murder suspect. So this is a case that has been happening since May, which is when he is accused of killing his 3 daughters, and then the search for him started. And we actually have some of the timeline here. If you don't know, Travis is a Pewaukee native, but let me just kind of walk you through a little bit of the timeline of this case. So May 30th, he had a planned visit with his 3 daughters. His ex-wife, the daughter's mother, ultimately reported her girls missing. Then on June 2nd, the bodies of those 3 girls were found at a campsite in Washington. So then the search for Travis Decker started. So on June 4th, there was a sighting of him in Idaho, which started a search there. Ultimately, that was debunked when a lookalike kind of came forward and said, that's me, it's not Travis Decker. So that really led to no developments. Come June 5th, there was a closure of enchantments and other areas as they continued this search process. So then in July 5th, the search moved to a different area out of Idaho, which was the Sawtooth National Forest. Then we have to fast forward an entire month, August 5th, which is when there was a possible sighting in a different spot in Washington. August 23rd, there was a grid search of Rock Island Campground. August 28th, some bones were found. They thought that had the potential to be potentially the bones of Travis Decker. They did the forensic analyzation of them, discovered they were actually animal bones. But then, as of last night, again, now authorities are saying that they believe the remains of Decker were found. Again, he was a wanted man in the kidnappings and murders of his 3 daughters. They believe he has now been found dead. So the Chelan County Sheriff's Office did confirm this all in a press release yesterday, that human remains were found in a remote wooded area south of Leavenworth. Those remains were found less than a mile. I believe they said it was 3/4 of a mile from the original crime scene, from when the 3 girls' bodies were found. So what we're waiting for is that body to be positively identified. But the reason why authorities are more confident in saying this is because of the clothing that was on this body, as well as other personal items found in that area that do suggest that the remains belong to Decker. That scene currently being processed, and we are waiting for DNA analysis to follow. There's the potential that we might actually have even a press conference today confirming the remains to be those of Travis Decker. We're waiting on that. I can assure you that if it happens during the Wisconsin Live Desk, we will bring that to you. Otherwise, we will bring it to you on Fox Local as well as Fox 6 later tonight, because this is a big story that obviously, as we mentioned, started back in May. And I know it's one of those things where I don't think closure is necessarily possible for the family when you're dealing with the murders of your 3 daughters, but they really want to provide any sense of closure that they can, which is why they've worked so hard to locate Travis Decker. And again, they do believe these human remains that were found were his. So we have been monitoring that story all morning, and we will continue to monitor it and bring you any developments. Speaking of Wisconsin, we got to talk a little bit of sports, because of course Wisconsinites, they love their teams, and it's kind of an exciting time both baseball and football as we wait for basketball to start. That's just a few weeks away. Let's start with baseball, though. Let's take a live look right now at AmFam where the roof is closed. They're not playing in Milwaukee. They are going to be playing in St. Louis. They're facing the Cardinals. But if they were playing, closing the roof isn't a bad idea because, again, we are expecting some rain tonight and throughout the weekend. But yeah, the Brewers actually, they swept the Angels. They won that entire series, which is great because they're trying to clinch the division. They even have the chance to potentially be the top team in the National League. But as far as clinching the National League Central, the NLC, they are 4 games away. That is their magic number. But remember, that number goes down if the Brewers win or if the Cubs lose because the Cubs are in second place. So they have already, though, clinched their postseason. People are very excited for the Brewers to have some October baseball. The Cubs also have clinched their postseason. They are going to secure at least that wild card. I'm going to guess that's where they'll be because, again, the Brewers have that magic number down to 4 with, I think, just a few series left. But, yeah, the next one, they'll be taking on the Cardinals tonight. That game set for 7:15, and we'll see if we can get that number down to 3 or even 2 because the Cubs, I want to say, are taking on the Cincinnati Reds. But I will see if that's real. Yes, it is. They play the Cincinnati Reds at 5:40. So, potentially they could end Friday night with that magic number down to 2. Again, that would require a Brewers win and a Cardinals loss. All right, and then we have to talk, of course, football. This is actually a live look in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where the Packers will be playing on Sunday. They are taking on the Browns. That game is set for noon. Obviously, the Packers off to a strong start so far this season. They are heading into Sunday's game 2-0, which is always nice. My Bears are 0-2, so that is exciting. Obviously, we don't think everyone can take the trip to Cleveland to see this game, so some good news for you guys. You can catch it right here on Fox 6. Look at that. We have Fox NFL kickoff starting at 10. Of course, Fox NFL Sunday starting at 11. Then we've got your noon kickoff of the Green Bay Packers at the Cleveland Browns. And stick around after that because we also get to bring you at 3:25 the Cowboys at Bears, which I just am asking the Bears to do better than they did last week because they got pummeled by the Detroit Lions to the point where I just turned it off. And the Cowboys won in overtime against the New York Giants. It was a very exciting game for them. So it was the kind of polar opposites of those two teams taking on at 3:25. And then catch Fox 6 Sports Blitz Sunday night at 10:30. Well, they'll have all of the highlights that you need from those games. Of course, good time now to mention, as seen by TVV. If you missed this, we are so excited to get your questions answered by our sports director, Tim Van Voren. Go ahead, scan that QR code. That's how you can submit a question. You can also do it on Fox Local. This can be anything. I mean, if you have a question as to what turf toe is, if you saw that Joe Burrow is out for 3 months, which is really painful when he is your fantasy quarterback. Delaney feels my pain. I can see her right now. She's like, oh, Haley, that stinks. But you don't know what that is? That's a good question for Tim. If you want to just know what's it like on the sidelines, or what's the craziest thing you've ever seen in the tunnel, what's something fascinating that you found in a locker room, anything and everything, Tim is ready to answer. So that's as seen by TVV. Get your questions in because he answers those every single week for you guys, which is always really nice and fascinating. Delaney, we got to ask here, do you feel bad about me losing my fantasy league quarterback because you were laughing?
No, I do feel bad. When I saw it, I instantly thought of you.
Thank you, because he is my quarterback, and he literally didn't even make it through the whole quarter on Sunday, which was really unfortunate for my points. Don't worry, guys. I did win my second week. I lost week 1. I won week 2. But Delaney, I'm going to be honest, I was like, oh, it's a toe injury? He'll be back next week. And then I had to learn what turf toe was and why it takes 3 months because it was a 3rd-degree tear and he needed surgery.
I know, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, I think he'll be back next week, but I guess not.
Do you think I'm going to win this week, fantasy?
I do.
Matchup?
I have high hopes for this week for you.
Even though Caleb Williams is my quarterback now. Wow, Delaney, thank you. Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I also am appreciating this brief reprieve of the rain, which you can see is going to be coming back in later today. So again, we are going to have your forecast coming up. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get you all the details. Well, I'm not going to give it to you. Stephanie's going to give you all the details that you need to know. She is mic'd up and ready. So let's take our quick break, and she'll have your forecast coming up for you in just 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back into the Wisconsin Live Desk. Time check for you. It is 1 p.m. on your Friday afternoon, and right now in Milwaukee, it's really not looking all that bad. There is some blue in the sky. There are some clouds in the sky, and you got your warm temperatures, but I know there's some rain coming in. So, of course, we got to bring in our weather expert, Stephanie. I want to complain, Stephanie, because I know the rain is coming back, but at least right now, temporarily, we're okay.
I know, and we've been great all week long, haven't we? I think every day I've shown a radar map of Wisconsin that shows rain in western and northern parts of the state and us in our own little bubble of sunshine and 80-degree warmth. It's just incredible, but that does change as the system gets a little bit closer. So even as soon as later tonight, it's not out of the question to even have a straight pop-up or isolated shower closer to our dinner hours. So more so thinking, high school football games tonight, they'll likely be fine, though it is going to be very muggy like it is right now. That's been the biggest change today, is that huge jump in dew points. But I think maybe as you're heading home, we could end up having a few showers and storms rolling in around that time, then picking up a bit throughout our overnight hours. And then as far as the rest of the weekend goes, it's just going to be these rounds of showers and storms. So I do anticipate at least a little bit of dry time from time to time. It's just hard to pinpoint exactly when those are. So I know that's not helpful for anybody who wants to do anything outside. I know I told a few of my colleagues, was really hoping to bring my kids apple picking this weekend, and we might. I think I am eyeing Sunday. I think Sunday, potentially, during your prime hours of the day, midday, early afternoon, could have more dry time than what we experience on Saturday. Keep with the forecast though, because this system is just going to sit over our area, meaning we're going to have all the moisture. There's going to be rain surrounding us. It's just when it actually moves through our area. So still anticipating a little bit of dry time both days. You'll just need to check that radar. Keep your Fox Local app handy, your Storm Center app handy, as we will of course keep you updated all weekend long. Also worth mentioning, the dew points that we have today, going to stay on the high side as well. So right now they're in the mid to upper 60s in a handful of communities. I think we'll kind of settle in the mid 60s when it comes to dew points the next couple of days. So it may not feel quite as bad as what we have out there right now, but our air temperatures will also be likely a little lower. So we're still going to be able to feel a lot of that moisture heading on in. So yes, it's not the prime weekend we would absolutely hope for, like all of the gorgeous weather we had this week, but I do think there's hope to still get out and enjoy it. Temperature is still in the 70s. It's really just that rain chance that we'll be battling both of those days. And because this system is going to linger, even Monday and Tuesday of next week, we could have a very similar forecast with some of these on and off showers and rumbles of thunder. So just gear up for a more active forecast the next couple of days.
I feel like it's probably time for some rain as well, because really I don't think it's rained in a minute here.
Yeah.
As far as weekends go, I know people like, the sunshine on the weekend. Certainly this is the area where there's always a festival. But I feel like it's just find the festival that has the outdoor and the indoor elements for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's great advice. It's interesting that you mentioned us not having a ton of rain as of late. We have an awesome crew who cuts the grass around our building, and they're out right now cutting the grass. And earlier, you just saw what looked like a plume of dust roll past the weather deck window, and it's because it's so dry out there right now. And I know it's so hard to talk about dry weather after all of the flooding and the rain, unfortunately the devastation we saw back in August, but we do actually need a little bit more rain here in southeast Wisconsin. So I think it'll be a beneficial weekend. We don't have to worry about flash flooding. I do think we could see periods of heavy rain at times, but I don't expect it to be anything like what we saw in August. And with the fact that this is going to linger for a few days, this is going to be a longer duration storm and a really beneficial storm, because we could still see, 1-2 inches worth of rainfall, but that's over the span of basically 3-4 days. That's what you want this time of year. The ground will do really well with some of that rain inching its way on in. So again, not the greatest timing, but I think it will be very beneficial for our area.
Oh, absolutely. And I do appreciate kind of the heads up for tonight. If you're going to, your son's football game or you're going to be outside, I would call it ponytail weather, because, you're talking about it's muggy, but then also, like, if it pours down rain and my hair's in a ponytail, I don't care as much as when I, perfected it for the day.
Hat. Pony and a hat.
Yes.
You basically will fit in at a football game.
You nailed it. All right, well, I'm feeling more prepared for our somewhat rainy weekend. Of course, thanks so much for giving us our forecast there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have a good weekend yourself, Stephanie.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, I feel like I want to complain more about the rain, but it's been a minute since we've had it, so it's probably long overdue. But again, if you are free right now, get outside, because it is nice, albeit muggy right now. But yeah, we're taking another live look right there in downtown Milwaukee. This is the Wisconsin Live Desk, 106. It's Friday. We are going to take another quick break here, and then we're going to be joined by our very own Jason Calvi to get a little bit of a preview of his story today. Also in the background of this shot is the Pfizer Forum, which is making me think Milwaukee Bucks. So let me, during this commercial break, see just how far away we are until the NBA season officially kicks off, speaking of our love for sports here in Wisconsin. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Time check for you. It is 1:10 now on your Friday. Hopefully you have some exciting weekend plans coming up. We now know the weather for it. We just got our forecast, which even though there's rain, by no means is it a washout. So you can still hopefully get outside, but just have some backup plans inside as well, and you should be all good. Very exciting time on the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's always exciting whenever we can be joined by our very own Jason Calvi, joining us in the newsroom, because you are going to tell us all about this draft, Jason, of a new bill that could have an impact on elections.
Yeah, this is the bill. Well, it's a draft, so it's not fully introduced. It hasn't been introduced yet, actually. But the state lawmaker who is putting it together plans to introduce it middle of the week, next week. And so we got our hands on the preliminary draft. This is from Republicans, and it deals with a couple different issues that are really important for voting. And Democrats are also proposing and will also likely introduce their own version of these bills next week as well. So here's what we're talking about. First of all, in Wisconsin, you cannot start processing absentee ballots until polls open 7 a.m. on Election Day. So what does that mean when you've got tens of thousands and maybe even 100,000 absentee ballots in a municipality like Milwaukee? What happens is they cannot start even opening up those envelopes until Election Day when polls open at 7 in the morning. So this bill would allow for clerks to start processing absentee ballots. That's a distinction between counting. You can't count, but this would allow them to at least start processing. So again, opening up the envelope, making sure that the envelope has the witness signature, witness address, the signature and address of the voter, and then they can at least get that stuff ready to then be put through the tabulators on Election Day. So this is a vote. This is a bill. This is an idea that's been supported by members of both sides, but this bill did not pass the state Senate last go around. It didn't even get a hearing in the state Senate. It did pass the state assembly on a voice vote, which means there was not. It was pretty much a voice vote, and it didn't go through the state Senate. So this go around, what Republicans are trying to do is they're going to offer up this proposal that will allow early processing of those absentee ballots, but the same bill will also then put some new measures in place regarding absentee ballot drop boxes. Drop boxes have gone back and forth through the Wisconsin courts. At one point, when the court in Wisconsin was controlled by conservatives, they said that drop boxes actually went against state law. And so they struck down and said, you cannot have absentee ballot drop boxes. Then the court swung to the liberal side, and the court then ruled that absentee ballot drop boxes were allowed in Wisconsin. So that's the system we are under right now. Communities can have absentee ballot drop boxes according to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So what this bill will do is it will put some restrictions in place on the ballot drop boxes. Communities could have drop boxes wherever they wanted. They could have, 100, or they could have as many as they want, but each of those places would have to have a security camera on those drop boxes, and secondarily, that security camera footage would need to be live streamed to a website. So those are the sort of caveats that Republicans are putting in place in this bill that kind of they're hoping the governor will sign. But when I asked the governor's office for what do you make of this kind of offering up the processing early bill at the same time of putting some restrictions and measures in place on drop boxes, here's what the governor's office said. Quote from my phone, okay? Is that okay, Haley?
That's totally fine, Jason.
Okay. Sometimes at the state legislature, if they read from a document, they have to actually get permission to read from a document. So permission to read from my phone, Haley?
Granted.
Great, thank you. The governor's been clear, this is a quote, the governor's been clear that he's not going to approve measures that make it harder for eligible Wisconsinites to cast their ballot or that undermine or sow distrust in our fair and secure elections. So here's what it says. As you know, Governor Evers has spent years pushing the legislature to pass a bill allowing Monday ballot processing. So here's the key line here. So it's disappointing Republicans have decided not to pass a clean bill with bipartisan support, instead packing a number of other election reforms into the legislation. So long story short, it doesn't seem like the governor's office is into the idea of putting all these ideas into one bill. It sounds like the governor's office wants to see the early processing bill be its own standalone bill, and then see what happens with that. And I did speak to the author of this proposal, Representative Scott Krug, and he says that there's a reason why they're doing this. They really want to, potentially, they feel like there should be trade-offs. They're going to give one thing and they want to see this sort of deal-making take place. But again, you have a Democratic governor, Republican legislature. Are they going to actually be able to compromise on this right now with the proposal in front of me? I'm going to have to say it's going to be tough sell for Democrats to sign on to this because, Governor Evers has in the past vetoed bills on drop boxes, and when he vetoed it, his veto message said, the reason I'm vetoing this is because I don't want to put new restrictions in place that might, in his words, make it harder for people to vote. And so in this instance, Republicans are asking for these surveillance cameras on the drop boxes that stream live. Well, streaming does cost money, so I guess you can conceivably say it might make it harder to have these drop boxes, make it more expensive for communities. Maybe they can't afford to have those cameras in live streaming. So what's going to happen at the end of the day? It's still just an idea. It hasn't formally been introduced, and this draft could be tweaked some more before it's introduced middle of week next week.
Jason, I'm curious. Obviously, this is a new draft here, but we've seen some of these ideas before, as you mentioned. We just heard from several elected officials, but what are Wisconsinites saying? I mean, are they for these changes? Do they like them? Do they not care? What's been kind of the consensus in years past?
So there's been some polling done by a group that wants to see some of these changes incorporated into law. And so the polling did find that people do want to see the early processing bill. I think it was like 80% of the people that were polled wanted to see absentee ballots be able to at least be processed the day before Election Day, to be the Monday. And then at the same time, people did want to see access to drop boxes and the like. So at this point, can both sides agree? Can they come up with a compromise? I'm not sure. Again, like I said, there was a clean bill with what's known as a clean bill, just dealt only with that one issue of allowing early processing of absentee ballots. Passed the Assembly on a voice vote, didn't even get a hearing in the state Senate. Now, things have changed though in the state Senate. The state Senate used to have a supermajority of Republicans. Now that majority has really dwindled because of redistricting, and Republicans lost their supermajority in the state Senate. So now, is it possible there might be more appetite for a bill like this in the state Senate? I would say yes. But at the same time, at least right now as it is, Republicans are trying to kind of combine several issues into one here to see if they can pass. This is just one of 4 proposed draft bills that Republicans are going to introduce next week. They're also going to be introducing some grant programs that would allow local municipalities to have some state money, 50% grant program, so the community would have to pay 50%, the state would give them 50% for things like extra security, for things like those surveillance cameras, for things like having extra hours for the clerk's office to stay open in some of these rural areas for early voting, for people to drop off their absentee ballots or to vote in person, which is also considered absentee ballots, but to vote in person early in Wisconsin. So that's one of the other proposals that Republicans are going to introduce next week.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like there's a lot on the docket there, and it's a long process to potentially see this draft become a bill, see if it's passed. Of course, we'll continue to follow it. Last time you joined me on Wisconsin Live Desk, we went slightly off topic to talk about the Goonies. I need us to go slightly off topic again because we were watching Real Milwaukee, and they were talking about fall trends, and you are rocking one of the looks right now, Jason. Plaid everything. So what about this shirt really spoke to you?
Well, this is one of those shirts that I did buy at the thrift store, I'm going to be honest. So this is from thrifting is where we got this shirt. But the problem with the shirt is because the pattern is so close together, it's called meringue. Is that the proper terminology? I'll look over and see if the APCs can hear me. They can't. But there's this, when you have a close-knit pattern, it can move. It can
dance
move
on
on
camera.
screen. This one seems to be
pretty
not
still.
doing that right now. It's still right now, but depending on the camera, depending on the lighting situation, it can potentially move. So you typically don't want to have a too close pattern when you're doing television reporting. But I kind of like blue, one of my favorite colors, so here we are.
Yeah, you're just a man that knows the trends. Also, no shade on thrifting, okay? That's good for your wallet, and it's good for the environment. So thrifting is a great idea,
No, it's
Jason.
great. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
At least wearing one or if not 2 things today that are from the thrift store.
Way to go, Jason.
I'm not going to tell you which one because it's a great location.
I would say keep it for yourself. You
Yeah,
can be selfish because once you announce it, then everyone's going to go there, and then all the good finds,
Yeah.
like this Plaid everything, it's
Yeah.
going to be gone before
But
you get
if people want to send me a message on my X or on my Facebook, then I would tell you where it is. Again, just completely personal, thoughts on the issue of thrifting in Milwaukee.
Man of the people. He's willing to give you the inside scoop if you reach out to him. He's also going to continue working on the latest with this draft of a new bill. Thanks so much for joining us, Jason.
Great to be on. Thank you.
Always learn something new when Jason's on. Again, he's working on that story right there regarding a new draft of a bill that could have some potential changes as to drop boxes and absentee ballots when it comes to voting in elections here in Wisconsin. Long process before that potentially is passed, but we'll of course continue to follow that here on Fox 6 and on Fox Local. Delaney, I need you to start warming up your voice because we're going to take a quick break, but then we've got a lot to talk about you and I. We got question of the day, we've got the future of SNL, a special brunch. Do we have that?
I don't have the special brunch yet, but we can still talk about it.
Okay, we have some really exciting things to talk about after this quick break, so you're going to want to stay tuned. Delaney, toss us to break. No, say it.
We'll be right back after 2 minutes.
Crushed it.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'll be with you for just a little bit longer, and then our very own Ben Handelman is taking over for the second half of Wisconsin Live Desk this Friday afternoon, where it's a muggy one out there. Let's take a live look right now at the Milwaukee Mitchell International Airport, where sometimes we're lucky and we get to see a plane driving on the runway. Doesn't look like we're going to catch one today, but you can kind of see it, just kind of like a hazy day. Again, if you're flying this weekend, I think you'll be fine. We're not expecting any heavy storms. We're not expecting any washouts, but we are going to have some of those kind of pocket storms here and there with the rain, as Stephanie was telling us. Also, Delaney, I swear, I just saw Ben walking by to talk to you, and you're going to have to tell him that we are about to talk, you and I. We don't have time for Ben to do this right now. But hey, we do have a plane right there. We got an American Airlines one driving either to the gate or away from the gate. I never know. But we have been really teasing that Delaney and I have a couple of really exciting stories to talk about. So let's start with something you can do tonight or tomorrow, whether or not there's rain. And that's, you can go see Batman 1989, the movie, but it's in concert. So all of the really famous score is going to be played live right in front of you by the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. So you can go tonight at 7:30. You can go tomorrow at 7:30 at the Bradley Symphony Center. Tickets are still available. We have all those details online. Delaney is currently talking to Ben Handelman, so I'm going to wait an extra second before we go to our producer box, which I think I've given. Oh, no, she's still talking to Ben. I was going to ask her if she's ever gone and seen any films in concert. I've been able to see a couple of them. So I got to see a few Harry Potters and a few Star Wars. And it's always just a very cool opportunity, in my opinion. The only thing I struggle with is I'm like, watching the movie, but then I also want to appreciate the musicians, because that's what you're really paying for, is this experience. But then I'm like, oh wait, I should watch the movie, but I need to watch the musicians. So my head does a little bit of a roller coaster, but it's always just so incredible to hear these iconic scores played live for you, which is always really fun. The other thing that's exciting, we've got some more details about the next season of Saturday Night Live. Take a look at this. We have our hosts and our music guest for the first 3 shows of season 51, starting with October 4th. Bad Bunny is going to be hosting with Doja Cat as your musical guest. I feel like that week must have just been like themed off of animals, because they got Bunny and Cat on the same episode there. This next one, so exciting to me. I love Amy Poehler. My senior quote in my yearbook in high school was an Amy Poehler quote. There's power in looking silly and not caring that you do. I think that's what it was. I love Amy Poehler. I'm so excited she's back. I mean, she's just so funny and so good at SNL, a legend. So for her to get to host and we get to see her for another night on the show is going to be so exciting. That musical guest is Role Model, which if you're like, I don't know that artist, he has that song Sally, which really took off this summer. And I love when he brings on celebrities who are his Sally during live concerts. Okay, then October 18th, we have double duty from Sabrina Carpenter. She is going to be hosting and the musical guest. I feel like the last time Sabrina did SNL, like, it really took off. It was a big hit. People loved it. So I'm excited that she gets to do both the skits, hosting, and being the musical guest. Her new album came out recently, so there's a lot of new material there. Delaney, it looks like you're free now, so I'm going to bring you on. Which of these shows are you the most excited for? I can pull them up again, too.
I think I'm most excited for Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
And then I'm excited to see Role Model perform.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm really excited for Amy Poehler, because I hope they bring back some of her, like, really beloved characters. And roles that she played in years past. But I'm also definitely excited for Sabrina. I haven't done a ton of listening to her new album, but I did obviously know that, like, people would compare certain songs to Jeremiah Man-Child as far as it goes with The Summer I Turned Pretty. No shade, but a lot of shade. Delaney, should we do question of the day really quickly?
Yeah, let's do question of the day.
Okay, so if you missed it, Delaney and I now like to see what the national day is, and then we do some trivia. So today is National Talk Like a Pirate Day, which really just continues to prove my point that there's a national day for anything and everything. Delaney, the question, can you talk like a pirate?
I cannot. What about you? I don't think I can do it without laughing
She
on
said
the air.
I'm not even willing to attempt. I also cannot, I mean, Armady, like, I guess that's what I would do, right?
I know, that's like the only line I know that a pirate would say.
Right. Okay, well, let's do your really quick true or false, because Ben is totally here and totally ready to take over. True or false, Talk Like a Pirate Day was created in 1995. So that would make today its 30th anniversary. Whew.
Let's go with true, Delaney.
This one is true. It was created, 2 friends in Oregon jokingly created it while they were playing racquetball.
Okay, I have so many questions. So they're like playing racquetball. They're like, let's just try to do our very best.
They must have been like
impersonation. They're
Yeah.
like, this should be a holiday. And 30 years later,
Yeah, and
here
now
we
it
are
is.
talking about it on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Pretty exciting stuff, Delaney.
Right? Kind of interesting.
It's kind of interesting. It's very interesting. We're going to talk about the Jonas Brothers brunch next week because I'm really excited about this. It's happening a week from tomorrow in the Milwaukee area. Delaney and I are going to try and get some things lined up because you know I'm a big Jonas Brothers fan. Really quickly, any weekend plans?
Ooh, I don't know yet. What about you?
I am going to go actually to see a musical in Chicago with an actor that I really like. His name's J.J. Neiman. So my sisters and I are going to go see Catch Me If You Can in Lincolnshire, Illinois, which is a suburb I've never been to before.
Ooh, that sounds like a fun weekend.
It does, thank you. So excited that I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break so that the man, the myth, the legend, Ben Handelman can take over because he's got you guys covered for the next hour. And because you did such a good job with it last time, Delaney, toss us to break again.
We'll be back after this quick break.
She's a pro, you guys. Great job, Delaney.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
My news nerds. Welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Oh, it is Friday. I am just getting all logged in here. Haley did a great job here on the first hour of the Live Desk, and now it's my job to figure out what's going on in the world, because in this room, if this is your first rodeo with us here on Fox Local, I've got all these monitors looking at me, and I've got all these buttons in front of me, and I could take you all around southeast Wisconsin, all around the state, all around the Midwest, and beyond. And we just have some new feeds that have popped up here on the Live Desk. So let's ingest this together and see what's going on our Friday. This is a live picture from our friends at WFLD in Chicago. And I believe we're looking at a live picture here. Yes, okay. Now I know from that brick building, this is a live picture from Evanston, Illinois. That's where Northwestern is. It's a northern suburb just north of the city of Chicago. And this has been a very tense day out there in Evanston as federal agents, they shot pellet guns and deployed tear gas on a crowd of protesters that were out there this morning. This is the Broadview ICE Processing Center. So, excuse me, we're not in Evanston. We're actually in Broadview, nearby. Protesters, they returned to the facility for a day of demonstrations, vowing to keep pressure on federal immigration officials after these confrontations. So this is the new focus for the Trump administration, the city of Chicago. They're calling it Operation Midway Blitz, and there have been a number of immigration raids all throughout Chicago area, and when they pick up some of these immigrants, they bring them here to the Broadview Processing Center. This is where, this is where the deportation process could possibly begin. This is where people are being held. This has long been a focal point for activists opposing ICE operations in the Chicago area. There you see a helicopter flying up above, and just by the height of that helicopter, I do not believe that is a news helicopter. That could be a law enforcement helicopter, because from my experience, news helicopters would, unless they're right next to the airport, which Broadview is kind of close to the airport, they wouldn't fly that low. So we've seen dozens of protesters out there today, and there was tear gas again deployed. You see there are a lot of journalists there, people with cameras, people with the helmets and the protesting gear, and then there's a person with a mask on. He have a gas mask around his neck? Hard to tell there. But yeah, so, and I'm not unsure right now if anyone was arrested this morning, but some of the people that got tear gas in their eyes were some of the politicians, because I know the mayor of Evanston, some of the Chicago aldermen, they were out there. Actually, I'm just seeing a quote here from our friends at Fox 32 in Chicago. Andre Vasquez, he's an alderman in Chicago. He was right up front when the rubber pellets there and the tear gas started, and this is what the alderman says. We were kind of on the front line of it as a vehicle was coming, and so we were looking to block the vehicle. It still kept driving, almost ran someone over, and at that point we started seeing the pellets. So it was tear gas, it was pepper spray, a little mix of both, so you could feel it even under the mask, and started coughing and spitting out to get everything. That's a quote directly from Andre Vasquez, an alderman from Chicago, who is among those who are out there protesting today. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton was one of the several local officials present at the protest, and she said the crowd would not disperse while they're exercising their First Amendment rights. So kind of interesting if you've got the federal officials who are trying to do this immigration work and the ICE work, and then you're seeing the protesters, many of whom are politicians from the Chicago area. So we'll keep watching this scene here as we've got that live picture coming in now from Chicago. Just a little lap around. Let's just show you some of the shots we've got, because that is a beautiful shot from Washington, D.C. I wish the news was so beautiful out of Washington, D.C., because the news today, government shutdown. Now, the government's not shut down yet, but it's looming as a bill to extend funding for the federal government. It fails in the Senate. Both Democrats and Republicans put up their own plan to try and, get the government funded at least for another month. October 1st is when funding will run out for the government, and it is not looking good in Washington right now. So this is what happened last night. The House passed a Republican-supported bill. It would have kept the funding at the current levels through December 21st. That was the Republican plan. But we knew as soon as it went to the Senate that the Democrats were going to reject this. They put up their own plan. They wanted to keep some of the health benefits in place, the health care cuts that have taken place from the Trump administration. They wanted those reversed, so they put up their own plan. And the Senate Republicans were like, yeah, no. And they put up their own plan, and the Democrats were like, yeah, no, because it's Washington. But now this is, we've seen this before, and it seems to be happening more and more often, that they kick the can down the road a little bit, and then when it comes to once again come together and find some compromise, there's very little of it in this town right now, despite how beautiful that town is, as we're looking live at the Capitol. So throughout the day, we have seen kind of these press conferences from lawmakers. Just a short time ago, Senate leaders were talking before the cameras. So we do have our eyes right now on Washington, D.C. We will keep watching that as obviously this unfolds here in the afternoon, as they're starting to run out of time here to come up with some kind of compromise. Live picture right there. American family. Ooh, right there. See, this is what I'm saying when I'm telling you I'm in a room with a bunch of buttons, and sometimes I hit the wrong button. But this is the button I was trying to get out there. Okay, Stephanie Barkello is going to join us here, and I do want to ask her about this because it is very hazy out there today, and when I walked out this morning, you could feel the humidity. All of this is about to change a little bit as we are going to talk weather, but that is the home of the Milwaukee Brewers. They're on the road. Is this their last? Maybe Delaney's a sports fan. Maybe she knows. Delaney, is this the last road series of the year? I know the Brewers end. I think they have two more.
I'm actually not sure. I'll look into it, though.
Let's look at this up. I know they end the year next weekend against the Cincinnati Reds. But this weekend, they're in St. Louis taking on the pesky Cardinals, who are pretty much out of the playoff mix. But now they're in the I want to ruin your season mix. And here's the deal with the Brewers. The Brewers' magic number is 4 to win the division, which, of course, is every team's goal. That means a combination of 4 Brewers wins or 4 Cubs losses or a combination of the two that equal 4 will mean the Brewers are your NL Central Division champions. Last night, the number was 6, but the Cubs lost and the Brewers won. So when the Cubs lost, that made the number 5. When the Brewers won, that made the number 4. So as they go through this weekend, there is a chance that they come out of the weekend as the NL Central champions, and they'll celebrate with champagne there in the clubhouse in St. Louis if that is exactly what happens. Now, if Chicago gets hot, the Brewers are going to have to win all these games, and it won't happen this weekend, but we shall see. Delaney, do you have some information? I feel like you. And actually, can I try this? Because, boom. Oh, it's the new Delaney button. It's Delaney, everybody, our producer. Hi, Delaney.
Hey.
Did you look it up? Do we see where the Brewers are right now?
Yeah, so they'll be in St. Louis, and then on Monday, they're taking on the Padres. So they'll be in San Diego.
Oh, they have to go all the way to San Diego.
Yeah.
Ooh, and that's actually a pretty good series because San Diego is currently holding the last wild card spot. And there are a couple teams, including the Cincinnati Reds. I think the Diamondbacks, the Giants, they're just right behind there. So, yeah, a lot of playoff implications more pressure on the Padres for that series really than the Brewers. And then they come home and they play, that would probably be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Thursday off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to end the season?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Oh. It's like I'm a sports anchor or something, which I'm totally not. Okay, thanks, Delaney. Appreciate it. There's the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Cardinals. Now we know everything about the magic numbers. We're going to talk to Stephanie Barcello coming up pretty soon here, and she's going to fill us in on what's going on in the weather department because we've got the haze out there. But a bigger deal is going to be what's going on this weekend in the rain department. Okay, we've got a low pressure system. It's wrapping around Sioux Falls. You see kind of how there's a circle pattern right there? And it's about to move into our area, and it is a slow mover. So we got chances for rain on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, possibly on Tuesday. We're going to talk to Stephanie Barcello about this, but it's not going to be a total washout. So do not cancel your plans. If you've got a wedding this weekend, you're getting married, don't start crying just yet. And rain's good luck. Just remember that if it does rain on your wedding day. But yeah, we're going to talk to Stephanie Barcello. Brett Lemoyne's coming up. Really interesting story about fees out in New Berlin. So stay with us. We got a jam-packed 45 minutes here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Live Desk.
Oh, my people, what's going on? If you're joining me here, it means you care about the news, and we're bringing it to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's Ben Handelman, everybody, 1:48 on your Friday as we're wrapping up the week here from the Fox 6 newsroom, from the worldwide headquarters of Fox 6. This is exclusive on Fox Local. Maybe you're watching us on YouTube, but this is the show where when things happen live, I'm going to bring it to you live. We just had a new feed pop up. And I know it looks like we're in school here with a presentation happening, but this one's an important one because this is the CDC vaccine advisor meeting that's happening right now. The Trump administration just got a bunch of new members to sit on this advisory committee, and they're going over vaccine recommendations, which could affect whether or not your insurer will pay for some of these vaccines. So let's listen in live again. The advisory committee, big meeting about some health decisions in this country. Let's listen live on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Do we have you on the phone?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please
Yes,
state your name, conflict of interest, and your vote.
Raymond Pollock, no conflict of interest, vote yes.
And Dr. Malone?
Malone, no conflict of interest, yes on vote for.
Dr. Pagano?
Yes.
Dr. Malone?
Kirk Melhone, no conflicts, yes.
Dr. Blackburn?
Hillary Blackburn, no conflicts, and I vote yes. And to clarify, pharmacists are included in that shared clinical decision-making.
Thank you. Dr. Stein?
Kathy Stein, no conflicts and vote yes.
Dr. Griffin?
Evelyn Griffin, no conflicts of interest. I vote yes.
Dr. Hibble?
Joseph Hibbelin, no conflicts of interest. I concur with Dr. Blackburn and Dr. Meisner regarding pharmacists, and I vote yes.
Dr. Pepsworth?
Vicki Pebsworth, no conflicts of interest, yes.
Dr. Levi?
Recep Levy, no conflicts of interest, yes.
My name is Martin Kuldorf, no conflict of interest, I vote yes. We have a vote, 12 yes, 0 no, and 0 abstain. So it is passed. We will now move forward to vote number 1. Thank you for having that on the screen.
Ben Handelman here, no conflict of interest. And I'm going to tell you about this meeting here because some really interesting things happened earlier today. They voted indefinitely to delay a vote. So they voted to not vote on the hepatitis B vaccine for newborns. And here now you can see what they're voting for. It's moved to COVID, as I'm seeing some of the other things that happened this morning. So let's listen in. As again, they're talking COVID and taking votes on their recommendations for the nation's health.
Does that mean an informed consent must be obtained?
So can I clarify what the intent?
Please.
Yeah, so I think that the idea here is to send a very strong message and recommendation that it has to change the way it communicates with patients and medical providers about the risks and uncertainties of the vaccine. And that includes the vaccine information statement as well as other communication channels. We don't intend to prescribe to the CDC exactly what language to use. We express our strong desire that that should be done to ensure appropriate communications and including as part of informed consent. And that's kind of how we should view this recommendation, I think.
Can I comment?
Dr. Hibble?
Briefly, with regards to your question of requirement, the way I read this proposition is that the CDC engages in an effort to provide more consistent and comprehensive language. I do not see the word required in this proposition.
And it says considers as well.
Dr. Malone?
Yeah. It is not within the purview of the federal government or the CDC to regulate the practice of medicine. That includes the practice of informed consent. That's a states' right issue. The intent here, as I understand it as a member of the working group, is to encourage the CDC to provide information which can be used by states to support informed consent processes should they so require. Does that help, Cody?
And specifically, the vaccine information statement is a document that is being generated and updated by the CDC. So that's something that is also relevant.
Yeah, in this paper that Recep listed in his presentation, there's a very clear, was it Kaplan, senior author? Very clear enumeration of the long history of the interaction between states regulating practice of medicine and informed consent, the vaccine information sheet, and the CDC. It's complex, and it's very clear that the federal government doesn't have the right to regulate any requirements having to do with informed consent, but that the CDC has kind of stepped into the breach inadvertently, in part due to needs to mitigate legal liability. So it's really convoluted at this point, and we're just trying to make it incrementally better.
Okay, Ben Handelman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is a really important meeting and a really controversial one about the nation's vaccines. This is the CDC advisory panel, and they're discussing things like the MMR vaccine, hepatitis B. They've delayed a vote on that, and COVID-19. And some of the recommendations that will come out of this meeting could be used for insurers to deny things like if you want to go get your COVID-19 vaccine, maybe that's no longer covered by your insurer if they're following the CDC guidelines that come out of this meeting. There are a lot of scientists and doctors that have been worried about some of the changes that this vaccine panel appears to be making and has been making in this important meeting. So we'll keep watching this here on the Live Desk. You're going to see all sorts of headlines that come out of what is happening right now. But I want to talk about, bring it back home a little bit. That's a live picture outside an American Family Field where it is, I don't want to say smoky because I don't think that's smoke, but it is hazy out there. And I want to bring in my colleague, if I can figure out the right button. It is Stephanie Barcello is here on the Live Desk. So I'm going to bring up the boxes, then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to bring up your microphone. And welcome to the Live Desk, Steph.
Hi, Ben. How you doing?
Good. How are
Friday.
you? What's going on out at American Family Field? What's going on with this haze?
Yeah, it is. It's probably a mix of haze and some low-lying cloud cover. You know, we had fog this morning, and I know you know it, Ben. You step outside, it is humid.
Muggy.
So it is. It's probably a mixture of still maybe some thin haze, thin fog across the area with how high these dew points are.
Wow, yeah. I was actually really shocked when this morning I walked outside. And you know, it's always, this week it's been pretty cool in the morning, right when you walk out the door, like to get the kids to school, and then it warms up really quickly. But not today. Today I went out with the long sleeve, and I was like, and my daughter turned to me and was like, I don't think you need that, Dad.
Like, what just happened in the last 12 hours?
It feels like summer today.
Yes, and you know, our temperatures aren't terribly high today, unlike yesterday where we had 80s, but the dew points are nearing 70 in some communities. That's a massive jump in dew points from just 24 hours ago. So this system, it's getting closer. And I know it's sunny right now, but as it continues to move in, it's going to keep the humidity high, temperatures lower, and bring in, of course, some of those scattered showers and storms, which we've been talking about. Now, as you can see right now, there's really not a ton out there. We've got a few little pop-ups, it looks like in Rock County, and then areas just off towards the west. But as I zoom out a little bit, you can tell
There we go. I'll go back to you.
that there's more off towards the west, Ben.
Now,
So
this is my how I learned my weather. I say low pressure system moves left in the left direction. Is that what's happening?
in the left direction.
Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise.
It's going left. It's all moving left.
Yes, that makes
Low,
sense.
left.
I thought you meant it was going to like move west. I'm like,
oh no,
Ben.
it's spinning to the left.
Yes, you're right.
I take my fingers like this and I go, which one is the, okay, that makes the L.
Yep.
And if it's, okay, this is on this side. And then if we go here, oh yeah, it's a low pressure system, not a high pressure system.
You were meant to be a science teacher, Ben. Meant to be a science teacher. Yes, low pressure. In fact, here, this will help you a little bit more. Here's our surface map. Okay, Ben, that low pressure system over the Dakotas. Remember back to Monday. I know it was a while ago. Monday, that low pressure system was in western parts of the Dakotas. So it has barely moved. This thing has just been sitting. But that's what's going to move into our area. We will see just some off and on shower chances here through the night tonight, through the weekend, Monday of next week. I do think there will be some dry time, just hard to pinpoint when exactly that's going to be. I know that's very difficult for weekend plans. I've mentioned a million times I want to go apple picking with my family, but it really is going to be a weather dependent weekend. So keep the Storm Center app handy so you can check the radar so that you can actually see when the rain is currently moving out and when the dry break is moving in. Being able to read a radar is way more beneficial than looking at an hour-by-hour forecast on your app.
Oh, that's smart. What is the, I've always wondered this, what is the squiggly black line that goes down by the L?
Yeah, great question. That's called a surface trough. So it's kind of along the lines of a frontal boundary. It is a, boundary, just not quite a change in air mass, if you will.
Okay.
But it does keep usually some unsettled weather, and it's usually very close to a low pressure system.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And this is, so we're talking Saturday, Sunday, Monday, possibly Tuesday?
Yeah, yep. This is one of those cutoff low pressure systems. So the reason why it's not really moving right now is because it's cut off from the main jet stream. So when a low pressure system's on that jet stream, that's the wind continuing to push it in a certain direction. But when it's cut off from that, then it just meanders in the same area, and that looks to continue as it slowly moves through our area. So we have at least 3, maybe 4 days of a chance of rain.
Wow. I'm sucker.
Which we need.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's so true. Because you know what I did today? I went out. Well, first I planted my grass because I knew it was going to rain. And I had plans to plant grass in both my front yard and the backyard, but I got lazy after I did the front yard. And I thought, you know what? This is the only yard that people actually look at. So that's what happened this morning. But also, we're getting closer to Halloween, and you know this about me. I love my skeletons.
Oh, yeah.
And I usually take a metal rod to make them stand up.
Okay.
And I tried to just tested it out, put it in the ground today. Oh man, was that difficult.
Oh, I bet.
Like, we need this rain for me to be able to put skeletons in the ground because the lawn is rock hard right now.
We need it for the skeletons, Mother Nature. But yes, you know, we have an awesome crew. I mentioned this earlier on Live Desk. Awesome crew who does our yard here at the station. And she's out mowing the lawn today, and earlier you just saw this big plume of dust pass by the weather office. So what a sign that we are so dry out there right now. So again, there's not much going on right now. I think in the near term, we need to watch maybe those high school football games tonight. There's a chance we could have a stray shower or thunderstorm during the game, but I think it's more so after those games that we'll see some rain moving in, and then again, just off and on throughout the weekend. I can put a quick dew point forecast up too, because I know that's been such a huge change today. Just expect the same all the way through Monday.
Oh, wow.
I think by Wednesday we will see that drop in dew points, but very sticky conditions, kind of like what we have right now, still in the forecast as this system sticks around.
So the low pressure system's got to get out of here for us to really change what's going on.
Right.
I felt so good about my left and right, and then you put all the squiggly lines on the thing. Not you. I mean, that's actual science that was on the map. And now I'm like, I don't know how to read this, which is why we're so happy. We have a weather expert, Stephanie Barrichello, who joined us.
No problem.
All right, Steph, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
All right, stay with us. We got more feeds coming up here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll check in with it next.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Well, if you are joining us at 2:05 on a Friday and you're here on Fox Local, you are my people, the people who care about the news, about what's going on in the world right now. And I do have some new feeds. We're going to check back in with what's happening in Chicago. I've got this new shot of the White House that just popped up. But first, I want to get out to my colleague and a friend of the program, Brett Lemoyne, just popped up on the feeds. He's in New Berlin today, and this is a really interesting story that you're working on. New fees have ruffled some feathers there in New Berlin. What's going on?
Yeah, it's causing a little bit of a controversy here, Ben. So, long story short, the city of New Berlin is proposing increasing the fees for private rentals of public park spaces. So in other words, if you've got a softball league, if you've got a pickleball league, you rent out a shelter at a park for a birthday party or something like that, all of the fees are going to increase potentially, if this is approved, in 2026 because of this move. The city says they're doing this because the cost to maintain these properties is so high. They're trying to get on a cycle where every 7 years they're able to kind of focus on certain parks and beautify and rejuvenate, if you will, some of these baseball diamonds and whatnot, so that they have enough money in their coffers to be able to afford that. Obviously, as you already alluded to, it's causing some controversy here in New Berlin because some of these sporting groups, one in particular, we obtained a letter from the New Berlin Magic softball and baseball teams. They have about 20 groups that they have under their umbrella. They say, Ben, that if all of these costs go through, they could end up paying about $11,000 to $15,000 more per year compared to what they were paying just last year. So that's a pretty significant bump up.
Yeah, I don't know what it costs, and I know it's probably different depending on what you want to rent out. Like if you want a picnic table for your kid's birthday party or a pavilion or something, it's different. But do you know what the kind of costs that are out there for, like, what does it cost to rent things out there?
Well, so let's put it in this perspective, Ben, and forgive me, I don't have all my spreadsheets in front of me with all the numbers, and you know I'm not good with numbers, so bear with.
Join me on, I'll join you on that.
You've got softball, for example, right? You've got practices, you've got games, and then you've got tournaments, right? For practices right now, they're not charging, the city's not charging anybody for a practice. So in other words, the Magic or the Pumas or any other group that comes out here rents that space. Last year and this year they weren't paying anything. That fee though will increase to $45 for every practice. The same for games. So they were paying $0 this year. That will increase to $45. It doesn't sound like a lot, right? But when you consider the Magic, for example, says we're at Lions Park here in New Berlin. They use Lions Park almost daily from the end of April through the whole summer, really. So the costs add up tremendously. Now these fees don't even include the maintenance fees that were already in place. So in other words, this year, right, it wasn't like these groups were coming in and using these spaces for free, because they also had a maintenance fee that they had to pay. But that maintenance fee is also going to increase if this is pushed forward at the city. Last night, we had a crew at the commission meeting that was debating this. It was very interesting, Ben, because the commission, the mayor was also a part of that group. The commission was split 50-50. So they didn't come to a consensus on this. So they've essentially punted, I think I'm using the right sports analogy, they punted this issue to the full Common Council that will take this up on Tuesday without a recommendation from the commission that debated it yesterday, because the vote was 50-50. So they couldn't come to a consensus at the commission level. So now they're saying, well, here's the issue, here's everything. You guys figure it out at the Common Council level. But I just got off the phone with one alderman who was not a member of the commission, but will be obviously voting on this come Tuesday. And he says, yeah, he still has a lot of, significant issues with this, mainly that they're afraid that by increasing these fees, some of these groups in New Berlin are just going to go to other communities
skip town,
where they don't have to pay as much. Yeah, and even some of the groups like the Magic, for example, in their letter, the president said, we bring in a lot of revenue for the city when we have tournaments. People come in, they stay at hotels in the area and things like that, and there's all concessions and all sorts of things that add up after the fact, and some people in the city are afraid that those might go away.
Yeah, and I would also think one of the arguments is, okay, these are public parks. People pay tax dollars to keep up the parks, and obviously you want these parks to be full of people, to be active. What are you guys doing with our tax dollars if you're just making all these groups pay for some of these things? Have they brought up that argument?
Yeah, so I mean, even the mayor said last night that they really want to create a system where the people who are using the parks pay for the long-term maintenance of the parks. I guess that is essentially one of the main goals here. They said that these fee increases would generate about $25,000 in revenue for the city, although they say that it's not for profit per se.
Right,
but
it's going to go back into the parks.
$25,000. It would go back into the parks. That's against about a $55,000 roughly cost to maintain and keep up with all of the parks that they have in New Berlin. So the city would still be paying that difference, a little less than half, right, or a little more than half of that difference. The city would still be coming up with those funds. But here's one thing, that those are average numbers. We also learned that there's one baseball diamond at Malone Park, which is kind of the premier park in New Berlin. Malone Park is really where I think a lot of the tournaments and things that generate a lot of attendance are held at. They're looking at a $90,000 bill for just one of their baseball diamonds. At least that's according to the director of Public Works. They said they've had some drainage issues there and whatnot, and they don't have the money to do it. So here's one opportunity to generate some funds to pay for those.
Yeah, parks cost money. Brett, you and I both have 5-year-olds, and this whole interview, I don't know who your photojournalist is today, but I've been looking over your shoulder. What is that behind you? What park are you at? Because is that a giant drum? What is that thing?
Oh no, it kind of looks like honeycombs almost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is Lions Park in New Berlin. I had never been here either, and you know what? I just told I'm going to tell my son when I get home, because he's always asking me, Papa, take me to a playground we've never been to before. We've never been here. And
this one looks fancy.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, look at this one.
Yeah, he'll say that. He'll say that exactly. But it's very nice. There were quite a few people that were here just a little while ago, and they've since left. But I mean, this is a really beautiful park. Not only do they have the playground here, but there's some nice shelters that are rented over in the field behind me. There's pickleball courts, basketball. I believe there's a baseball diamond right over here. A beautiful pond where I'm told people go fishing. So yeah, I mean, really lovely parks. I can't say that I've ever been to a park in New Berlin that I haven't liked. I mean, they're all very nice. But the issue, of course, is paying for them, and this is one way that the city has proposed to do that.
Yeah, you got to get working on your story. Just last question. I mean, this wouldn't apply if I want to go play pickleball. Like, Brett, hey, let's go play pickleball. Let's go out to the courts. They're not going to charge me for that, right? This is for the groups that take up the whole space.
No. First of all, you'd probably beat me in pickleball.
I don't
if
know.
anybody's placing bets.
I've only played like once.
I've never played pickleball. I used to play tennis, but never pickleball. So I guess maybe that would give me maybe somewhat of an edge. I don't know, but I still put my money on you, Ben. No, this is for private rentals for groups,
Right.
for larger organizations. If you wanted to go out and go to a basketball court in New Berlin with a friend, that doesn't apply. Now, if you went to a basketball court with a friend and someone had rented the space, right, you're not gonna play because it's already been rented and paid for by someone else. But most days, right, if you walk up to any of these facilities, you're not going to end up seeing anything out of pocket to be able to use and enjoy them.
All right. We'll look forward to your reporting coming up tonight at 4, 5, and 6. And yeah, maybe we'll throw down money on a pickleball game so there is some money involved in the future. Brett Lemoyne, everybody, on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thanks, Ben.
I'm surprised Brett hasn't played pickleball if he's a tennis player. Usually the tennis people pick up the pickleball later on because they don't feel like running as much. So, yeah, I'd love to play pickleball with Brett. Hey, stay with us. I've got some new feeds here, I believe. Yeah, and this vaccine vote's getting kind of interesting, too. So stay with us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's 2:18, so we only got like 14 more minutes with each other here on the Live Desk. But of course, we got all our newscasts coming up here tonight. This is the show where if it's happening live, we will bring you there. And happening right now, we've got our eyes on Chicago, or the northern suburbs. This is Broadview, Illinois, out by O'Hare Airport, actually, where earlier today, protesters, they clashed with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials. Tear gas was deployed. There were rubber pellets that were shot at some of these protesters. And this camera just a minute ago showed that some of these protesters were still kind of treating themselves, it appeared, because of maybe some of the tear gas that had been fired in their direction as they clashed. So this is the Broadview ICE Processing Center. There's a guy also with a giant American flag who's been walking around, so we'll see if we can see him in our shot. But this has really been a focal point for protesters, as if you are an undocumented immigrant who gets picked up by ICE, this is where they're taking people. So into this facility, and protesters have been arriving here to protest what many in the federal government, they're calling it Midway Blitz. There's been an extra emphasis on Chicago and the suburbs, and extra officials have been brought in to round up undocumented immigrants. And many of those immigrants have been taken here to the Broadview ICE Processing Center. And today, a bunch of Democratic leaders, we're talking aldermen, some mayors from some of the suburbs, the lieutenant governor of Illinois, they were all here. Dozens of people gathered. As one car was going in, it appears that the ICE officials believed some of those people were getting too close to the facility, so they began firing some of that tear gas and the rubber bullets, and really tense moments earlier today. Things have really calmed down now, although we have still seen some people who are wearing gas masks who are protesters. Now, there's only maybe a couple dozen protesters from the quick shot that I just saw, but you're seeing, I mean, this is a working ICE facility, so people are moving in and out of there as protesters are meeting them. Now, I don't see any of the law enforcement officials maybe to disperse some of the tension. You don't see them on the other side of that gate. I'm sure they're there somewhere, and they're watching the protesters very closely. There you can see there's an official there moving from the gate. But yeah, we haven't seen any clashes since we've been here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So that is something to keep watching. Another thing that we're watching at this hour, the CDC recommendation panel, they're meeting right now. It's kind of like a slideshow format. You could see right now their focus is on COVID-19. The question is, what will their recommendation be for us, the general public, about getting the COVID shot? So let's listen in as this meeting continues here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Finished quite some time ago. If we are able to vote on this, depends on how many more people want to discuss it, how long they take. We have, I'm talking, please. Dr. Malone, please.
Point of clarification, do we have a modified amendment or not? And if the amendment as written stands, I move that we proceed to a vote. Over.
We don't have an amendment.
I second that
we also have Dr. Merling.
Yes, thank you. The Association for Prevention, Teaching, and Research. I just want to echo what my other liaison representatives and what Dr. Blackburn has so thoroughly stated is just, and really urge the committee to really think about how this will impact access, and that if pharmacists are the ones that the majority of patients are going to obtain their COVID vaccine, and if the committee, as they voted to pass the vote in vote number 4, are allowing for that choice and individual decision making, again, with vote 1 being that we have this, more informed consent process, which I'm all in favor for. Maybe perhaps also our CMS representative can speak a little bit more to what this requirement of prescription would mean for limiting pharmacy ability to give this vaccine. Thank you for taking my comment.
So motion to vote again.
Thank you for that comment.
We have a motion to vote, right?
Can you please, I'm talking now. I'm the chair of this meeting. And that's the only way to finish is if you let me do that. Is the committee ready to vote on the motion?
I move that we vote on this motion.
I second that motion.
That has already been passed. I call for a vote. Can you please state your name, conflict of interest, and your vote? We will start with Dr. Meissner.
Cody Meissner, no conflict of interest, and a strong no here.
Dr. Pollock, who is by phone.
Dr. Pollock, Raymond Pollock here, no conflict of interest, vote no.
Dr. Pagano, also on the phone. Do we have Dr. Pagano on the phone? We will return to him. Dr. Stein.
Kathy Stein, no conflicts, vote no.
Dr. Blackburn.
Hillary Blackburn, no conflicts, strong no.
Dr. Milhoan.
Kirk Milhoan, no conflicts, yes.
Dr. Malone.
Malone, no conflict of interest, yes.
Dr. Griffin.
Evelyn Griffin, no conflicts of interest. I vote yes.
Dr. Hibbeln.
Dr. Hibbelin, no conflicts of interest. I vote no.
Dr. Papsworth,
Vicki Pebsworth, no conflict of interest. I vote yes.
Dr. Levi,
Retzef Levy, no conflict of interest. I vote yes.
Dr. Pagano,
Dr. Pagano here, no conflicts. I vote yes.
my name is Martin Kuldoff, no conflicts of interest. I vote no. We have 6 votes for no. We have 6 votes for yes. Since it's a tie, the chair breaks it. I voted no, so the motion has failed. We now have number 3. We are half an hour over time. We have 2 options now because people are going to the airport. My view of this motion is that it's, I agree with everything, just like I agree with apple pie, motherhood, and fatherhood. If we can proceed to this vote without a discussion, I think we have time to do so. If a discussion is necessary, we might have to table the vote. So first of all, I would say, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded to adopt the recommended language for this motion. Is there a debate?
Motion to vote seconded.
Is the committee ready to vote on the motion? There were no objections, so we proceed to vote. Please state your name and if you have conflict of interest and your vote. We're going to start with Dr. Meissner.
Yes, I've hardly had a chance to read it. Cody Meissner, no conflicts of interest, and
Ben Haleman here. I want to get you to Chicago.
Yes,
Things are getting interesting out in Broadview, out in by that ice processing facility, as there are some law enforcement members in an SUV getting some, I'm sure, some colorful language being thrown at them from the protesters right now. But look at these guys. Full helmets. They're wearing GoPros on the helmets. They've got the tactical gear. It says Police Borstar on the vest. And we're seeing protesters right there. It looks like they've moved kind of closer to the building here. And they're just being watched right now. So we don't have any audio on this feed. And I'm kind of wondering if we don't have audio because of the language that is likely. We've seen some colorful hand gestures that have happened out there in Broadview. Again, this is the main processing center for the enforcement that's currently underway in the Chicago area. And there are many protesters who've got their own helmets on and gas masks, as there was, again, tense moments this morning, but that looks like some of the bays there. Okay, they've rolled the windows up. And now they've rolled the windows back down. I don't know what they're doing, why the windows up and down, as they're just kind of giving people the 10-yard stare. And this guy's been giving them the business. So we'll keep watching this here in our final minute here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Coming up next here on Fox Local, it's live now, so you'll get a national perspective of this and everything that's been happening in Washington. There's a couple of press conferences happening that they're listening in on right now. But okay, so we've got our eyes on Chicago. We obviously have got our eyes on what's happening here locally in Wisconsin, and you can watch all of that on the news on FOX6 News at 4, 5, 6, and then after the football game tonight. That's pretty much going to wrap up my time here on the Live Desk. It's obviously another action-packed day, and it's always a pleasure to join you. So we'll see you same time, same place next week. I'll see you on the newscast tonight.
An assassination in the public square.
The stakes are very high.
Is putting freedom of speech.
Those who celebrate violence should be fired.
To the ultimate test.
They can't be put in jail for that.
This week on Open Record, cheering for murder.
There is no